Speaking section, part 3. By this time, you've already spent a few minutes answering a few questions about yourself, your life, and your experiences, and you've given a 2-minute talk. And now it's time to continue with a discussion with the examiner. So, how can you handle this effectively and successfully? Let's find out. In speaking part 3, you'll be having a discussion with the examiner. And this discussion will be on the same topic as you spoke about in part 2. So you'll have some questions about the same topic, except this time they won't be so personal. They'll be more hypothetical and general in nature. And as you answer these questions, you'll be able to display a range of speaking skills. You'll be able to display your fluency and how you organize your ideas. You'll be able to display your range of vocabulary and grammar, and you'll be able to use proper pronunciation. But the most important thing to realize in this situation is, once again, you're sharing your thoughts, your ideas, your feelings, and your opinions. And for this, there is no right or wrong answer because these are your ideas, they're your thoughts. So, once again, you're not going to be evaluated on what your opinion is or whether it's a good opinion. What's most important is that you're good at sharing it in English. So let's just get started and talk about how you can do this successfully. So here's a typical situation for part 3. And for example, the topic was talking about something that you own or a possession that's very important to you. So you've given a talk about that. And now the examiner is going to say, we've been talking about something you own, which is very important to you. And I'd like to ask you some more questions related to this. And so these are questions about values. Let's consider values and the way they change. So this is a very general topic, and the questions are where you'll have the opportunity just to share your ideas and thoughts and opinions. What kinds of possessions give status to people in your country? So you can see that this is a very general question. It's not specific to you, although it will be your opinion. Has it always been the same, or were different possessions thought of as valuable in the past? You can see how this is going to bring your ability to use different grammar tenses and express the past, present, and future when it comes to sharing your opinion. And why do you think people need to show their status in society? A clear demonstration of your ability to express your opinion, whatever it is, in English. So let's take a closer look at this. So in speaking part 3, there are some things that you really want to avoid. You want to avoid giving very short answers, but you also, on the other hand, want to avoid giving very long answers. So when it comes to sharing your opinion and answering one of these questions, you'll want to be able to answer with 3 or 4 good sentences. And they're not going to all be short, simple sentences. You may have to display some grammatical structures by being able to use a variety of different sentence structures: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex, and maybe some conditional sentences. You'll want to be able to use different verb tenses so that you can talk about the past and connect the past to the present, and even speak about situations that could arise in the future. But what's really important is to recognize that you still want to be speaking naturally and relaxed, and speaking from the context of your own experience and your own life, your own ideas, thoughts, and feelings. So you can't have preset or memorized answers. So spending hours studying memorized answers, even memorizing special vocabulary, academic vocabulary, is not going to help you in the speaking section. You know, the speaking section is a very informal, it's the most informal part of the whole IELTS exam. So speaking academically and using these kinds of very uncommon and words that are rarely used are not going to help you at all. And as a matter of fact, if you overstretch and you use the very fancy word, but you use it for the wrong reason or with the wrong meaning, that's the quickest way to lose points. So stick to the vocabulary that's a part of your daily experience and life and that comes natural for you. There may be times where you're faced with a question that you really haven't considered before, or maybe it's unfamiliar to you. Well, what's really important in these occasions is not to do two things. First, don't overthink it. Don't make it more complicated than it needs to be. Just share what you really believe or think or feel about it. And if you're unsure exactly what you're being asked, it's okay to ask the examiner. What do you mean by that? Could you rephrase that question so I understand it a little better? You will not lose marks for doing this. As a matter of fact, this is what's going to help you answer more effectively. And actually, asking these kinds of questions gives you the potential to increase your score. So if a question comes up, don't overthink it, and also don't panic. Just be sure to be clear on the question, because once you're clear on the question, you can clearly communicate your answer. And this is what's most important in the speaking section. So make sure that you listen carefully, clarify the question, and don't be nervous. So what do you know that when it comes to the speaking section, one of the most important skills you need to have when it comes to your English is your listening skills. So listen carefully, make sure you understand the question, and if you don't, clarify the question with the examiner by asking something that will help you to answer more effectively. And don't be nervous. Easier said than done, because the speaking section could be the section where you feel most nervous throughout the entire exam, because you are meeting face to face with this strange examiner. But understand something. The examiner is there to make sure you do the best you can. The examiner wants you to display your English to the best of your ability. The examiner has your best interests at heart. So make sure you understand that, and that will help to take away some of the nervousness and help you to stay calm and relaxed and speak to the best of your ability. When it comes to sharing your opinion, when it comes to sharing your ideas and thoughts, and as I mentioned earlier, you'll want to answer a question with 3 or 4 sentences. So here's a little outline of how you can do this and accomplish these 3 or 4 sentences. First of all, give a clear statement of what your opinion is. In my opinion, the status symbol that seems to be most popular in my country is for a young person to own a car. Very clear, just give a clear statement. And then you give a good reason. The reason for this is that a car can display that you have the money and the means to purchase the car and to afford to be able to drive the car. And it also gives you a source of connection with your friends, to be able to take your friends places and to go to certain events and occasions and be the one that takes your friends. And so your friends begin to rely. See, there's lots of good reasons. Just explain them from your own experience. And then that is the specific example that will provide you with the content and the extra details that you can add. Again, because this example comes from your own life and your own experience. So you'll want to say, you know, a lot of my friends thought it was very special when they were able to buy their first car. Rather than say something like, studies have shown that purchasing a first car is one of the most prestigious times in life. That is not going to go as far as just speaking from your own experience. So let's just take a look at a sample of how you can do this, and I'll give you an answer to one of these questions. What kinds of possessions give status to people in your country? Well, here in Canada, one of the most important possessions that a young person can own is a pair of good sneakers, because good sneakers are a fashion statement. And the more expensive the sneakers, the more prestige you have and the more fashion sense that you can display. And people are very often impressed by the type of sneakers you wear. For example, when I was a young person, I really wanted to own a great pair of sneakers for a couple of reasons. And for me, the kind of sneakers that were important were basketball shoes, because I fancied myself as a good basketball player. So having these top-notch basketball shoes not only displayed that I was a good basketball player, but I also had a really good fashion sense. And this really boosted my prestige, or so I thought, in front of my friends. Well, I hope you found this helpful. I want you to know that this is part 4 in a whole series of speaking videos I've done, and you can make sure you see those just by following the link at the end of this video. And I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel for even more lessons that will help you in every area of your preparation for the IELTS exam.